Alright, welcome back everybody. Now we're going to take a look at Carlsen's opening repertoire with the black pieces over the course of the 3 World Championship matches, 2013, 2014 against Anand and 2016 against Karyakin. So obviously we have to take a look at 1e4 and 1d4, and we'll start with 1d4. That's a move Anand played. Most of the time Karyakin just chose it once, and Anand was actually very able to pose problems to Carlsen here. I mean, if Carlsen ever had opening problems, then it was against 1d4 in the match, particularly again in the match 2014 in Sochi, because in the first match Anand actually mostly played 1e4 and just hit his head again against Carlsen's Berlin defense. And then he switched to 1d4 and he posed much more problems to Carlsen there. So let's have a look. What did Carlsen play against 1d4? Well, it is already a sign of his problems that he's switching a lot. He has played 4 different openings against this move. And against Anand he played twice the Grünfeld, twice the declined Queen's Gambit, and also the Queen's Indian once. And what I noticed was that many of those games, it was just an idea, a variation for one game. Just surprise the opponent once and then never play it again. And, well, that is a little bit of a risky approach. I mean, it can work, but it's saying the variation is not good enough that I can play it several times. And that it's not saying something great about the opening. So let's maybe go kind of chronologically. In the first game that I would like to talk about, in the match 2014, Carlsen played the Grünfeld. So let's go there. Knight f6, c4, g6. And here we have the Grünfeld on the board, and it was this particular line of bishop d2, now e4. Carlsen had prepared the Grünfeld, I believe, specifically for this match as a new opening, as a new weapon. And here we had a quite imbalanced position on the board. Let me get there real quick. Now both sides have develop all the pieces, and white has a space advantage, and also maybe the option to attack the black king, whereas black's position is quite sound, and it will be a lot about which minor piece is better. So not the kind of typical position that you see Carlsen play. Going back, Carlsen later on in this match, quite towards the end, played the Grünfeld again, and then he chose, or Anand chose a different line, and Carlsen was a little bit under pressure, as it seems he was in almost every black game, to my mind. It seemed he was under a little bit of pressure. Most of the time he was able to hold it though, but Anand, you could say much more so than Karyakin, was able to really pose opening problems to Carlsen. Here in this line, white has this pass pawn of d5, which can be supported, and it's a quite sharp line. Anand was better, but did not manage to get anything countable out of it. So that was the Grünfeld, which went okay, I guess, for Carlsen. One of his main moves, as we've already talked about in the video about Carlsen's black repertoire, is the Nimzo Indian / declined Queen's Gambit. And I would like to go there. Carlsen also played in one game b6, but once again that was also just for one game to surprise the opponent, and also there Anand was better. But I would like to look at this right now, because this was quite an interesting moment in the match Anand against Carlsen. here this line of the declined queen's gambit, and this is a rather quiet, very solid line for black, but there is also some fury, and what happened in this particular game was that Carlsen was out-prepared by Anand. I mean, this all looks very solid, and if black is able to go b5 next move, then, well, white has the space advantage, but not more than that. In most cases, most games result in a draw. But white has this idea to sacrifice a pawn of b5 and bring his pawn all the way to c7, which Anand did. And this might be still fine for black, but if you don't know how to play here, you are in trouble. And that's what happened. Carlsen couldn't find it over the board. Anand was perfectly prepared, and Anand won the game pretty much out of the opening preparation. That's exactly what Carlsen tries to avoid at all costs. Of course, he doesn't want to play against a computer. He wants to play against a human, and that is the only time in his match history that he lost a game out of the opening. So in a later game in the same variation, Carlsen switched up. Here he played the move c5. Once again, just aligned for one game. Here in this position he played the rather unusual move rook e8. And even though Anand was able to put up some pressure, once again Carlsen defended, and the game ended in a draw. So really, to me, I mean, struggling would go too far. But Carlsen certainly had some opening problems against Anand, and you could say now, of course, with hindsight, that Karjakin should have gone for 1d4 more often. In fact, he only went for it once. Karjakin just played 1d4 once, and Carlsen once again played a new opening. He didn't play any of the openings he played against Anand. He played the Slav now. Here, c6. And in fact was able to equalize very comfortably, had tiny little idea prepared. Here the player is transposed to the accepted queen's gambit, and in this line there are two main moves: a queen takes d1, bishop takes c5, but Carlsen went knight c6, which is the third option and seems completely fine, and Carlsen equalized effortlessly, and the game ended in a draw. So we see a lot of different openings by Carlsen against 1d4. The same cannot be said about 1e4. Here clearly his choice is 1e5. Just once he has played something else. That was the Caracan in his very first black game in a World Championship 2013. And once again, as so often, an idea for one game, surprised his opponent here by going in this line, not going knight d7, which is the main move, but playing e6, allowing knight e5. But he had very specifically prepared this, had looked at what does Anand do here, what did he do in the past, then very specifically looked at this line, prepared it, and it worked out fine. But it's like, once again, you can just do it once and then you go on to something else, because the variation, if your opponent knows it and is well prepared, then might be not completely sound. So this has been, as we have seen many times, Carlsen's strategy to play a variation once, surprise the opponent, and then never play it again. Now let's look at e5. Knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, and here very interesting shift. In the matches against Anand, Carlsen played the Berlin knight f6. Actually, we have to say the match 2013, because in 2014 Anand didn't go 1e4 a single time, played d4 in all his games. So in the 2013 match, Carlsen did very well with the Berlin defense, but for his match against Karjakin, he switched, and he didn't play the Berlin a single time, which I think was great for Carlsen, because the whole preparation that Karjakin probably spent on the Berlin, all that work with his seconds, well, he could not use it in the match. And Carlsen was always the one who was better surprised. In general, in the match against Kayakin, Carlsen was in almost every game better prepared, and we'll see the only exception in a moment. So let's first start with knight f6, consider the Berlin real quick. In the endgame, Anand tried to play the endgame several times, but really couldn't pose any problems to Carlsen. As I've said already in the previous video, Carlsen feels quite at home in the endgame. It suits his playing style well, a lot of maneuvering, positional play, very deep and rich strategic struggle here, so no issues for Carlsen here. And in the line with 4d3, the anti-Berlin, Carlsen also didn't have any issues. In fact, he managed to even win one game with black here against Anand. As I've already emphasized in several times, is that Carlsen feels very much at home in the Roy Lopez kind positions. So now let's see what Carlsen did against Kayakin. Like he said, in all the Roy Lopez games he played a6, and he had prepared something new here, the Marshal. Before we get to the Marshal, with b5 here, with bishop e7, I would like to take a look at the only time Carlsen deviated from that plan was when he played the Arkhangelsk with bishop c5, and here he went for a deep theoretical discussion. The Arkhangelsk is an opening with a lot of theory and a lot of concrete theory, sharp lines, because black is sacrificing a pawn here, the pawn on b5, and his compensation consists of play on the dark squares and the slightly weakened white king. But obviously you need to prove that compensation, that it's worth a pawn. And why am I showing this so far? Well, I would like to get to a point where the preparation of both players ended, and that was right here. Okay, I can prepare it all the way here, and Carlsen seems also. But it turned out that even though it is reduced material, white is still pawn up, and of course there are there's some compensation for black, no doubt, but white still has an advantage, and Carlsen was very close, you could say. I mean, not very close, but he was under pressure in that game and almost lost the second game in a row. And well, in the end he managed to defend, but it was a tough game. So, as in the game against Anand in the declined Queen's Gambit, if the black piece goes for a long theoretical discussion in a sharp line, could be trouble for him. In all the other games he went bishop e7, and now after rook e1, which is the main line, a b5, bishop b3, Carlsen was ready to play the Marshal here with d5 after c3. Also one of his seconds is the great Marshal expert Jan Gustafsson. But actually didn't happen in the match. Kayakin never went c3. Probably he didn't want to see Carlsen preparation specifically. There was just one game where it was kind of a delayed Marshal gambit here. Now d5, and Carlsen also was excellently prepared and had no difficulties to equalize here. c5 was an important move, stopping any d4, claiming more space, and there were even rumors that Carlsen, even the end position, which was a draw, he had seen in his preparation before. So no issues there. Actually, Kayakin most of the time played this line, d3, which has become more fashionable recently because the white players are looking for ways to deviate from the common paths and pose problems to black. And I would like to show this once again to illustrate this point of Carlsen surprising his opponent again and again and again. In this line, this position occurred several times in the match, and every time Carlsen played a new move. Almost every time. Actually, it occurred 4 times. And Carlsen played 3 different moves. He played knight a5, bishop e6, as well as knight b8. And really in all these lines he didn't have any difficulties equalizing. And it just goes to show again and again he wants to play a new move, just to be the first one who surprised his opponent. And it worked out very well in this match, this kind of strategy. So, coming to an end of this video, and of course also the whole opening section, and I think I was able to illustrate quite well again what Carlsen was aiming for in his opening strategy, not only in the matches but in general. He wants to get the positions into his familiar ground. He wants to get his kind of positions, and definitely specifically the Roy Lopez is one of them, where he just feels like a fish in the water, where he feels so comfortable because he has all this experience, played with both colors, and there's a rich strategic component or several components going on. There's a lot of maneuvering. It's important where you put your pieces, and Carlsen is just the best in the world in this kind of with his incredible chess understanding and doing so. So this is one of his goals, and then also one of his other goals, which we have seen, is to avoid any kind of theoretical battle where he can be in danger. He doesn't want to play a variation in which if he doesn't know the right moves, he's in big trouble. And he's able to avoid this most of the time. So that's another goal. And then, yeah, get the opponent into a new ground, new positions early on, and try to then outplay them. So I hope I was able to give you a good overview, not only of Carlsen's overall opening development over the years 2009 to 2016, but also the openings in the matches. I mean, that is just a different kind of aspect one needs to consider, because in matches the openings become such a crucial factor. So I hope I was able to do it. I hope you enjoyed this brief overview, and then I wish you a lot of fun with the rest of the DVD, and goodbye.